This tutorial illustrates how to set up and start making a game using the categories Game Maker. After starting the categories Game Maker, click on the Create or Revise Game button. A dialog box will pop up to remind you to set a folder where you will store any multimedia elements, graphics, animations, movies, and sounds, and your saved categories game file. Click on the Close button. Click on the Save Game File button. In the Windows Save File dialog box, go to your hard drive, drive C in this tutorial, and select or create a folder. You can create a folder by clicking on the Create New Folder button. We will name the folder Sample Game, and then double-click on the folder to select it. Then I'll type in a name for my saved game, say samplegame.cag. All categories games files need to have an extension of or end in .cag. Finally, click on the Save button to save this file. This file name and path is now stored in and will be used by categories to store your files. You are now located on the Create Game main menu. The buttons are arranged to help guide you in creating your game step by step. If you had loaded a game or started making a game and wanted to start over by erasing everything, you could click on the Clear Everything button. Since we do not need to do that, we will click on the Next button below to add our game information. On the game information screen, we will add a game name, Sample Game, which course, your course, a teacher name, your name, and a brief description of the game. This is a sample game. You can use Tab to move from one edit box to another. You can also see the game path that we set earlier, Drive C, and folder Sample Game. You could, if needed, change this path by clicking on the Set Path Name button. When we are finished, we will click on the Create Main menu to continue making our game. At this point, you might want to use the Answer Key screen to help plan your categories game. Click on the Create Questions button, and then on the Make Answer Key button. We can now use this screen to briefly list our questions or the type of multimedia elements we plan to use. Let's say that in our first category, we are going to ask students to name pictures of animals. We can type Name Animals in the first line of the first box, and list some possible animals on the second line and in the boxes below. When finished, you can click on the Print Key button to print the screen. You can also access your printer's setup by clicking on the Setup Printer button. That is the end of this tutorial. To exit or return, you can always click on the rightmost button on each screen. We will click on Return, Create Game Main Menu, and Main Menu. A dialog box will pop up to remind you to save your game file. It's a good idea to always save your game file before exiting. Click on Save Game File, select the Sample Games file, and click on Save. Now, when the dialog box pops up, click on the Main Menu button. Exit by clicking on the Exit button. In this tutorial, we set up the game folder called Sample Game, where all of the files for our game will be stored. The following tutorials will show you how to find or create multimedia elements, such as graphics, for making your questions, and copy or move them into your game folder.